Hello everyone, I'm Tony Southcott.
And I'm Komette, and welcome to the Gorehounds Playground here in Fort Collins, Colorado. This is Booze and Booze, where we pair different alcoholic drinks with our reviews of horror movies.
And today we're going to be talking about Adam Robitel's 2019 film Escape Room.
Doesn't have the highest reviews ever, but we're going to try to see what we think of it. But first, we're going to go to the Gorehounds kitchen where I'm going to show you this week's drink. I'm going to be making a drink that I'm really excited about today. Whenever I typically think of bourbon or rye, I think of oranges. So today's drink I'm going to be calling Sweet Clementine. It's very easy. Let's get started. First of all, you're going to start with a Boston shaker, and you're going to put a couple sections of cuties or clementines into it. I'm going to do about 3. So 1, 2, and 3, and then eat one for yourself because they're yummy. Next, you're going to muddle it up. Wait till it's nice and juicy until you've gotten all of that liquid out of the clementines. Perfect. After that, you're going to add 0.75 of an ounce of Agave Nectar. And then the same amount of lemon or lime juice. We're going to use lime today. Perfect. And then 2 ounces of your bourbon or rye of choice. Then we're going to add ice and shake it really, really well. We want to make sure that all that agave nectar melts. Perfect. And then you're just going to strain into your rocks glass. Perfect. And now we have a perfect Sweet Clementine.
Dumb question. Are we outside?
The sooner we get this figured out, the sooner we get the hell out of here.
Who would do this?
Well, we just finished up with Escape Room, and despite it being like a 6 out of 10 on IMDb and under 50% on Rotten Tomatoes, I think that movie was not near as bad as the rating.
No, not at all. And especially for how quickly it went to DVD, we actually rented it from Gorehounds instead of doing a VOD or anything like that. I thought it was surprisingly good. And I low-key thought it was going to kind of be that way. That's why I suggested doing this movie. But I was surprised by it.
Yeah, I saw the trailer and I was like, I could see that. And then I read some reviews and I didn't end up going and seeing it. So it was one of those where I should have just kind of trusted my gut that it's not going to be like some highfalutin film. It's just fun. Mm-hmm. And like sometimes that's what you need. It had some interesting kills, though I think maybe it's because the horror fans didn't get like the blood that they were looking for in a lot of ways. Like it wasn't exactly like Saw dismemberment type stuff. And it wasn't like an easy movie that like PG-13 type people would want. It's like this weird kind of in-between, and I could see that causing some of the ratings issues. Because this is much more of a thriller, I would say, than like a horror film. There are definitely scary moments in it, like as far as like just a lot of discomfort and kind of terror as far as what's happening. But it does not fall fully into horror after seeing it.
Yeah, and I gotta say, for being a movie about escape rooms, which we were talking about this low-key, Saw is a movie about an escape room. It's an extreme escape room, but it's still what it is. This movie, I say, was very tense. I think a lot on the night vision camera. I was sitting forward and I was really into what was happening and what's the clues that they had to find and what was going to happen next.
We didn't have a lot of side commentary because we were kind of just...
We did not. That's very interesting. Usually we talk kind of through a movie quite a bit, but we didn't during this.
Yeah, and I think it shows that like the pacing was very strong. There was a lot of reasons why you could believe characters and things that you could feel that were fishy. And that was another thing that I liked about it, is you had 6 characters that were very different. And maybe whenever you make them that different, it's easier to write, because you've got, like, the rich CEO type guy, you've got the nerdy, kid, You've got the young girl that's very, very shy. Like, you've got all these characters, and they fall into their roles. But I felt like their interactions were pretty good. Like, I never felt like the writing was an issue here until we get to sort of, like, kind of the falling action. And we'll get into that in a little bit. I want to talk more about this movie before we get into spoiler territory, though. But as far as, like, whenever you have a story like this, like, I think back to a movie called Exam, where you had a similar thing where you've got kind of a douchebag character, you've got, like, some of these same types of people that are filling a role, and it just worked well for this particular movie. You see them start to work together. Like, you don't really see a lot of character conflict that didn't make sense.
Right, and I feel like each of them was their own trope, but it surprised me at how deep actually each character was and how it drove the decisions that they were making per each room. I think some characters were a little filler, like Dale, I feel like was a little bit of a filler.
Are you talking about the character from
Yeah.
Tucker Dale vs. Evil?
I feel like Dale was a bit of a filler, but it was very fun for Tony and I to be like, oh, well, obviously each of these people are kind of damaged. How are they damaged? What's their story? Like, and I could feel the urge to get more information, and I feel like that's a really great storytelling tool.
Yeah, like, if you actually have investment and want to know more, then they're telling the story correctly.
Yeah.
Like, it's so easy nowadays with a lot of stories where it's just like, well, this character is obviously just a plot piece to move things here, to move things here, to move things here. And I didn't get that. One of the things I also liked about it is all of these types of movies have a major asshole character that you're rooting for to die. And I didn't feel like this had that. Like, you had a guy that cracked some jokes that were, like, they weren't even that off color. It's just, he was a little bit of a jerk, but he was actually legitimately kind of funny with his comments. They never felt like they were forced. And I hate whenever you've got someone that's just there to make the situation worse and make you hate him so that, like, there's no impact when he dies other than relief.
Yeah, and I think, like, that character who it ended up turning into later on, you weren't expecting it at the beginning. So I feel like it's kind of a good way to show stress, like how people can change significantly under stress, and I thought they did a good job with that.
I think the word I would use is, like, for that stress, it's friction instead of melodrama.
Yes.
Because you've got them being abrasive because they're in a deadly situation, but you don't have pointless drama that doesn't make sense for the rest of the story. And if it even strays a little bit towards that, it pulls it back fast enough that it doesn't really become a problem.
I was going to say, like, there's one part where one of the characters was like, I was just trying to be an asshole, and then they never made that mistake again. You know, it became really real quickly for each of the characters, and I really appreciate that. I also got to say, I really appreciate how different each of the rooms were.
Yeah, like, every room was a complete contrast. Sometimes it was, you could almost be like, all right, so we had a heat room. What's the contrast to that? We're going to have a cold room. And some people might have been bothered by that. Did not bother me at all.
Well,
I thought it was interesting.
They didn't stick with that. It's not like the third room was the complete opposite of the fourth room, you know? And I thought that each of them were insanely clever. They did a good job of... This might not have been scary for me, but it was really tense. And I had no idea how they were going to, like, escape each room or kind of what was going to happen. And in a couple of the rooms, I was really disoriented.
Yeah.
And they did a good job with that. And
there's a particular room that, it's not like Inception because it's not like rolling around, but it's like, it's enough of that feeling where, like, the angles, everything else actually pull you in and give you, it's not nauseous, but it's definitely disorienting.
Yeah, like, two of the rooms were, one, they kept on switching what the true perspective was and then what the characters' perspectives were, and it was really messing with my vertigo, and I think that was on purpose, but it wasn't so much so that I didn't want to keep on watching. And same with the room after that. It was a really short scene, but it was effective because it was very, very hard to watch.
Yeah, the disorienting nature of that particular scene was pretty incredible.
Yeah,
like,
and clever.
I liked both of those. Like, those were probably my two. Well, I don't know. The 8-ball room was definitely, like, the coolest one for me, and you could tell that the director kind of liked that one more because they spent a little more time in that one.
Yeah,
it's probably also that the set was kind of expensive, but, like, it was it was just well made for a movie that I came into with expectations of it being a poor movie.
And maybe that's why we liked it so much, is because we didn't really have much expectations. But that being said, so we said a lot of stuff that we liked. I mentioned this pretty much immediately after the movie ended, and when we were talking with Jeff, who's the owner of Gorehounds, we kind of talked about the movie that we just watched right afterwards, because he's a buff, we're a buff, it's all fun.
Yeah.
But is that I feel like they had such strong characters, such strong ideas in each of the rooms, were beautifully constructed, XYZ, but I feel like they had no idea how to end the movie, and so they kind of did a couple of different things that it fell a little bit flat for me.
Yeah. And, like, we're going to try to avoid specifics on any of that sort of
Yeah.
stuff, but, like, there's an uneven finish here. And I don't know if that's, like, some sort of studio meddling where they're like, we could set it up for something else, or if it's, honestly, that the writers here, like, just kind of lost grip on what made this movie good, and that was character-driven action along with, like,
Well-crafted
like, clear motivations, like, all that sort of stuff. And I think them trying to explain a little bit too much of what happened took a little bit from the movie. Whereas if you made it, like, if you just ended it at a certain point and then let the sequel tell some of that story, I think you'd be better off.
Maybe they were trying to not be like Saw, because when they get out of Saw, don't they just kind of stumble and then there's no resolution at all, right?
Depends on, like, the character. Most of them are either incredibly happy that they survived and they go off to do, like, they live their life more
Isn't that the
richly.
whole point of him, right?
Yeah, like, that's part of what he's trying to do. Or they become his cultists and want to help him make it, and that's
Right,
why there's,
but
like, 17 and a half Saw movies.
When they escape the room, there's no, like, next room, and there's no, I want to say, welcome party. It's just them getting out, right?
I want to say Saw 3 had, like, an entire house where it was a group trying to get through. Like, so they had that, but it's not quite this movie. We're comparing it because that's, like, the hard horror equivalent to this thriller movie.
I just feel like I'm wondering if they would have ended it with the character just leaving and then it being like an empty parking lot, like, and then that was it. I'm wondering if I would have liked it a lot more if that was it.
Yeah, it's like there would have been less resolution there, but they could have added something small to give it, like, the ideas of what was happening, who's doing this, that sort of thing. And like I said, I'm not, like, hating this ending. It's just it wasn't as strong as the rest of the movie.
No.
It definitely dropped it, like, at least half a star, whatever rating we end up using. Like, I think that you could, just a little bit of work would have made this a much stronger movie, and it would have been more critically acclaimed.
Just the writing, the end, I feel like would have been just better for me.
Yeah.
Overall, I mean, I think the sets were stunning.
Yeah.
The sets were stunning, and in a believable sense, like, there's kind of a moment where they step into the second room, and you're like, oh, this could be some sort of paranormal where they're getting, like, and then they cut that off, and I really like that, and I kind of like how they had, like, the fake animals. It wasn't, like, so over the top where they had, like, too realistic, but it was enough. I don't know, it just seemed...
Yeah, like a Truman Show type fakeness
Yeah,
to it,
exactly.
though,
I really, really enjoyed that.
Not to mention, like, all of the actors they got for this, there was never a point where I was like, that was delivered poorly, that was dumb. Like, there was, like, a ham-handed thing where they were, like, exposition of this character. It's just, like, a flask on the desk at work, and it's like, man, you're working at a grocery store. If you do that, you get fired.
You get fired. You can't just openly drink on the job, man.
Yeah, but, like, other than that, I never felt like it was ham-fisted. I felt like the actors were good. This has Ann Wolfe from Daredevil and True Blood. I've been a fan of hers for a long time.
She's so pretty.
Most of the other people I saw in this, I didn't recognize them from other things, but that didn't detract from it.
Dale.
Yeah, Dale, Tucker, Dale versus.
They took his bowling fingers.
Yes, they took his bowling fingers.
Overall, do you have anything else to say?
I don't think I have much to add without getting into massive
Okay,
spoilers.
so let's answer the questions that we like. First off, did it scare you?
Not really. It had some jump scares.
It
It had some sweaty palms moments, though.
Yeah,
like the unsolicited, like, tension and, like, intensity of the movie. If you don't have scares, that's a good substitute.
I was definitely not at the edge of my seat, but I was leaned forward trying to, like, and I was super into it. It did not scare me, though. It was tense. I think that's the word to give it.
Yeah. And, like, I kept wondering if there was any way that maybe the director could have been giving hints so we could figure it out with them, but instead you are watching them figure it out.
Yeah.
That doesn't bother me. Like I felt like if we'd been given more, and we were like seeing obvious things on the screen, then it might not have been as fun as it was.
Yeah.
So like kind of just being along for the ride was good enough for me without having to be also a mystery, because it is mysterious about why they're there.
Yes, very. Okay, so would you watch it again?
I could show this to somebody else. I don't know if I'm ever going to go back and like solo watch it or anything. But if it's like just some random night and I'm looking for something that hits Netflix at some point, yeah, I could see watching it again.
Yeah, I could see putting this on with my friend and watching it like on a Sunday when we're hungover or something.
Yeah,
I could definitely see that.
It's not an urgent movie for me to rewatch again, but I'm sure there's some cool stuff you notice the second time through.
Okay, and did you like it?
Yes.
Yes, I liked it. I think especially the ending didn't ruin it for me, but if they had a different ending, everything else I very much enjoyed.
Yep. And I think that as far as this movie goes, like this is a solid recommendation from us. It just came out in 2019, so it's still pretty fresh. Go out and check it out.
Yeah, and check out our other videos. So we're really excited. If you haven't already seen our announcement, we are going to New Orleans to cover the Overlook Horror Film Festival, and we're really excited about it. We're going to be watching some awesome movies. So if you like this type of content, which obviously if you've gotten this far, I think you do, be sure to watch out for those other videos. Hit the subscribe button so you don't miss anything, and then also if you want to, do that little bell and you'll get notified anytime we come out with New Orleans content, or any horror content, really.
Yep. We will see you with a bunch of reviews coming out from the Overlook Film Festival, as well as more content coming out after that.
Thanks, everyone. Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.